let's get to it. We just got finished with the walkthrough, so need to get back in there. You know, the obvious stating it. You know, the last game wasn't what we wanted in any facet. You know, they were able to get explosives on plays that necessarily they shouldn't have, but they did. And so, you know, I know you guys taught the cue, and we're paring some things down to any calls that had layers to it. You know, the main focus right now is to speed up the play, okay? If there's anything that's causing any hesitation, let's speed up the play with, you know, limiting the layers on the calls. Or we looked at every call, okay, which calls are giving up any explosives, which calls aren't. Even if a call might be better in certain situations, how can we get them playing fast? So that's what we're going to do moving forward. I'm talking about Kansas City, just a dynamic quarterback, you know, one of the best quarterbacks since I've been in the league. He can make every throw off of every platform. He has speed outside with his eligibles. He has a tight end that is one of the best tight ends to play the game also. So running backs are running hard. They have a number of different running backs that they use different ways, a good complement. And then the offensive line, really good centers, outstanding. I know they have some pieces that they're moving around, but they do a nice job of working in conjunction together. So, all right, any questions?
When you talk about like removing some of the layers, are you talking about like checks at the line, checks, or is it the rules of the defense? What are you talking about with that? Like,
well, you know, if there's any calls that might be formational based where, okay, if he's in the gun, we might be in one thing. If he's underneath, we might be in another thing. Taking those layers away and just say, okay, hey, this is what we're going to be in. You know, the call might be better for those situations, but if it's making people be a little bit slower, we're going to take those layers off, things like that.
What more can you do as a defensive coordinator, play caller, can you do to help this group?
Oh, we have to make sure that the communication is what it is, the details, we're playing fast, and the main thing is if we can pick up the play speed, the ball will come to life. And so as a coach, you have to take doubt out of the equation, any doubt or any hesitation, and that's what we're going to do. You know, we're going to pare things back a little bit and allow the guys to play fast.
Up front, you've lost Dietrich, you've lost Javante, you lost now Dorrance. How do you fill those voids to keep the pass rush going? Yeah,
that's you know that's part of the game, but that's hard when you lose, you know, three really good players. But you know. That gives opportunities for other guys to step up. You know, I go back to when lost Al Harris and Tramon Williams. He stepped up and went to the Pro Bowl the next year. You know, that's just part of the game that we're in. You lose a guy, next guy steps up. But you know, losing Da, that's a big one. You know, he was playing as good as any defensive end in the league. So, but somebody will step up.
And Quinn talked about sort of refining the identity of the team. What does that mean in your mind? Is that a details thing? What does that sort of encompass from a defensive standpoint, I guess?
It is a detail thing, but it's also, all right, we said we want to be a run and hit team. We have to be that, you know, and that's one reason that when I started and DQ talked about it yesterday, I believe, you know, let's pare back some things and let's allow the running and the hitting to really come to life and the ability to separate the ball from people. So defensively and as a team, you know, we just have to play fast and play complementary ball. When we do it, we look really good. When we don't, we look like we did against the Cowboys.
Hey, Coach, I know one of the things that you all have been talking about is I'm going back to your point about communication. So what is your assessment thus far through the 7 games on how you all are doing in that area, and what are some things that you could do, if need be, to correct that?
You know, it's been a little bit like the play. It's been, you know, certain guys have been really good communicators. Some haven't. You know, nobody really talks about the loss of Will Harris, who was a really good communicator. And so, but that's one reason that we will, you know, pare some things back to eliminate some communications that we might have in reduction play. So, but it's been like we played. It's been not good enough, you know, and how we've played hasn't been good enough. So we've been really diligent of looking at every aspect of it, and we got to get it turned. You know, we got to get it turned, and we need to get it turned now. So
you talk about Patrick Mahomes being, you know, the quarterback that he is in terms of the pass rush getting to him. How important is it to kind of get him off his spot and make him uncomfortable? And how do you balance kind of doing that without letting him get outside the pocket and make plays off schedule.
Yeah, he's that's what he does. He can throw with anticipation from the pocket, and also when he gets out, he doesn't have to be and have his feet set or anything. He can make every throw from every way. So we need to be able to get to him. We need to be able to send him where we want to send him, where his percentage of throws is down, and control it from that way. Make sure we keep eyes on him where he can't just because if he sees it, he's rushed for as many first downs as any quarterback in the league. So we can't allow that also, because that's how they keep drives going. We have to get the stops on third down.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing good. Explosives and takeaways for a defense obviously live on the opposite ends of the spectrum of where you want to operate.
Yeah.
Statistically, you're not where you want to be in either category.
Nope.
How confident are you that these changes are going to help you bridge that gap?
When you to answer the question, from a run and hit standpoint, I think we'll separate the ball maybe a little bit more. There were some plays this last game that should have been intercepted, and we just got to go get them, and we're working every drill, trust and believe. We're working every drill because like I said, I've been in the league 19 years, and I've never had been in a defense where we haven't produced the ball, and we have to produce the ball. I mean, that's what we've done for a high clip, and it's just the confidence to go get it, and then once you go get, catch it and go score with it. So we're working every drill to get it done, and it'll start to show. I have full confidence that it will.
How do you envision replacing the guys that you lost at defensive end? I guess I'm thinking specifically of guys like Von Miller, who are maybe more of a pass rush type. Could we see him get some more playing time, and how do you balance, I guess?
Yeah, we have a couple of things that we're going to do this week that I can't say in this setting, but we have a really good plan for this week, and then it'll be different next week because, Seattle's different than how Kansas City is.
I guess ask it a different way. Are you comfortable with guys who are maybe a little bit not as 6'5", 300 or whatever on the edge, or how does that change things for you if you have kind of smaller build guys?
We might not necessarily have smaller build guys. We, like in the game, we kicked Johnny outside, so, I'm not going to tell you exactly what we're going to do, but I'm comfortable with what our plan is for this game and how we're going to be at the end position, yes.
Joe, as you try to make up for that, those injuries, at defensive end, a lot of people say maybe you should blitz more. How do you kind of balance that as a coordinator between, you guys are already blitzing pretty often, not leaning too far into that?
We blitz probably like the third or fourth most in the league.
Yeah, so what's the fine line you have to balance there between, maybe blitzing more but not wanting to leave yourself susceptible to some of those bigger plays as well? Yeah,
that's a key part. When you do blitz, when you do bring another element, if it doesn't necessarily get there, you're putting the back end in harm's way. And so, you got to mix it up with some simulators. And then also our four-man rush is pretty good. It has been. And so we have guys that can get there off of four-man. And when the coverage is held up, our rushing coverage work together. So we've had the ability to pressure the quarterback, and I think that will continue.
Coach, just one last one.
Yeah.
Relative to the rest of the league, comparatively to the rest of the league, you guys have been pretty successful in odd front looks.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, not without giving away too much, what has kind of helped you guys be successful in those looks?
Well, the spacing of the players and moving certain guys in different positions, the targeting, I think, for the offense has been a little bit more difficult, and that's one thing that we're going to continue to do. Yeah.
Hey, Coach, what's your assessment so far of the linebackers?
Of the linebackers? Yeah. I've been pleased with the backers. I think Bobby and Oos have played well. We're going to give Jordan more looks and more opportunities. He came in and played with good speed, so I'm excited to see him with his snap count going up. And then, you'll see a little bit of Kane as well to see how he can add to the party as well.
You guys looked at all these changes, coming up with personnel or the layers, as you said. Was there ever any thought to any personnel changes on defense? Is there anywhere you could go that you even looked at?
Yeah, and you'll probably see some of it this week. Yes.
Cool. Thanks, Coach.
Yep. All right, thank you. Y'all have a good one now.
Sorry about the 13. No, I wasn't expecting that.